Welcome to the world of science fiction Neon's Alien. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Neon's Alien universe. The sky above Earth was blue and calm, but to the aliens watching from orbit it was a death world. Captain Gorn Vels, leader of the elite Dravari hunter squad, stood inside the observation chamber of their silver scout ship. His 4 yellow eyes stared down at the planet. "Status report," he said. Lieutenant Yernak answered. "Class 5 confirmed. Oxygen-rich, wild terrain, multiple apex predators, primitive sentience called humans, present, tribal, emotional, unpredictable," Gorn hissed. "Avoid contact with the locals. We are not here for diplomacy, only for the hunt." Their mission was simple. Find, study, and hunt Earth's most dangerous predator, not for war. Not for resources, just for sport. The Galactic Hunting League paid big credits for exotic kills, and Earth was rumored to hold monsters unlike any other. So they came. The ship entered low orbit over a vast jungle region. The trees were tall, twisted, and loud with life. Flying things screeched. Ground beasts howled. Movement was constant. The hunters deployed in teams of 3. Black armor, silent boots, rifles glowing red. "This planet smells like fire and teeth," said one scout. Another laughed. "That's how I like it." Captain Gorn landed near a dense riverbed. The scanner showed something big nearby. Very big. Heat signature, massive. Heart rate, steady. Claws, confirmed. Fangs, over 15 inches. "Target acquired," Gorn said. "Split wide, move in slow." As they crept closer, they saw it. A razorback alpha. A beast that looked like a mix of a bear, a rhino, and a nightmare. Its muscles rippled under black fur. Its eyes glowed. Its claws sank into trees with ease. The hunters froze in awe. "This will make us legends," whispered one. But then something strange happened. A human walked into the clearing. Tall, barefoot, shirt tied around his waist, mud on his chest, hair wild. He held a stick. "Jake," the human shouted. The razorback turned. The hunters raised their weapons, but the beast didn't attack. It wagged its tail. Wagged. Its tail. The human laughed. "You lazy monster. Come on, fetch." He threw the stick. The razorback chased after, it like a puppy, crashing through trees, growling happily. The hunters blinked in silence. What is happening?" whispered Yernak. Jake leaned against a rock, hands on hips. "That's a good boy, Razor. Bring it back." The beast returned, dropping the stick at his feet. Jake rubbed its head. "Attaboy." The razorback closed its eyes and made a sound like a purr. Captain Gorn's face twisted in horror. "He commands it?" he whispered. "No," said another. "He's playing with it." They backed away slowly. "Abort mission," Gorn said. "But sir," I said abort. That man was unarmed, unarmored, and the apex beast bowed to him like a pet. Either this planet is cursed, or the humans are worse. The squad regrouped by the riverside. Jake, unaware of his silent audience, sat on a log and began eating a sandwich. The razorback curled beside him like a house dog. Another human arrived, this one smaller, wearing a ball cap. "Jake, you bringing Razor to the lake again?" "Yeah," Jake replied. "He needed to stretch his legs. Tell him not to chase my goats again. I told you he was playing." The other man laughed and walked away. Captain Gorn stared in disbelief. We're going to hunt that creature." Yernak nodded slowly. "And yet the human uses it like a friend." "They walk beside monsters," Gorn muttered. Barefoot. In orbit, the command ship received Gorn's message. Initial contact aborted. Apex predator. Not hostile, domesticated. Locals interact freely with dangerous fauna. Recommend reclassifying species. Not primitive. Possibly suicidal, or possibly supreme. End of report. As the sun set over Earth's jungle, Jake whistled, and Razor followed him home. Behind the trees, alien eyes watched and quietly backed away. They had come to hunt monsters, but now they were afraid of the humans. The alien hunters didn't sleep that night. They camped on a high ridge, hidden by thermal cloaks and sensor scramblers. But even there, above the jungle, they heard it. The razorback's roar. It echoed through the trees like thunder, shaking birds from branches and rattling gear. The beast had returned to its territory. But it wasn't hunting. It was playing. Captain Gorn Vels stood at the edge of their camp, staring through his scope. Down below, in a clearing lit by moonlight, the massive creature spun in circles, chasing something, another human. Small, barefoot, laughing. It was a child. The child threw a stick into the air. The razorback leapt, caught. It rolled across the ground like an overgrown puppy. The child clapped. The beast rumbled like it was smiling. Gorn slowly lowered the scope. This can't be. Lieutenant Yernak was pale even for his species. The Razorback Alpha is ranked as a Class 9 threat on the predatory scale. More dangerous than a Zarn worm. Gorn nodded. They play catch with it. Yernak whispered. A child. Hours earlier, the hunters had planned a noble kill. Tag the Razorback, chase it through the jungle, trap it, and take a trophy for the League. Now, they watched from the shadows as Earth's monsters obeyed humans like family dogs. It wasn't just the Razorback. The scouts had also recorded strange footage from their drones. A woman swimming in a lake beside a long-fanged reptile. It licked her face like a kitten. A teenager teaching a two-headed feathered beast to jump through a hoop. A farmer shouting at a massive tusked rhino thing, and the creature stopping in its tracks like it felt guilty. What is this planet? Asked one of the younger hunters. How do they control these monsters? They don't, Gorn said, his voice low. They live with them. The hunters reviewed footage in silence. One recording showed Jake again, the first human they saw, sleeping in a hammock, the Razorback curled beside him like a loyal hound. Another showed a family walking through dense jungle with no weapons. Behind them followed a giant armored beast that should have eaten them in seconds, but it didn't. It protected them. Gorn turned to his team. What we're seeing, he said slowly, is not just strength. It's something worse. Yernak frowned. Worse? They are not afraid of predators. The predators respect them. He paused, then added, worship them, maybe. The crew sat in silence. One of the junior hunters, Sarek, finally broke it. I thought humans were weak, soft, laughing things that bleed easily. Me too, said another. But now, I don't know what they are. Suddenly, a warning, ping sounded. The Razorback was moving again, fast, toward their camp. Positions, Gorn shouted. Cloaks up, stay hidden. They watched through camo plates as the massive creature broke through the trees. But it wasn't growling. It was sniffing, looking, searching. A moment later, Jake appeared behind it, jogging, panting. There you are, he laughed. You ran. Off, you little brute. He slapped the Razorback's side. The beast rumbled happily. Jake turned and looked directly toward the cloaked camp. Gorn froze. For a second, he thought the human had seen him. But Jake simply said, We're not alone, are we, Razor? The creature snorted. Jake shrugged. Hope they're friendly, or at least smart enough to leave us alone. Then he turned and walked away. The Razorback followed. Back in the camp, not a word was spoken, Yernak whispered. He saw us. No, Gorn replied. He sensed us. A long pause followed. Then Sarek said what everyone was thinking. This planet doesn't belong to the predators. No, Gorn answered. It belongs to the Deathworlders who smile at them. Far, above Earth in orbit, the Dravari ship updated its field report. Updated classification. Earth. Do not engage native species display unnatural relationships with apex predators. Deathworld threat elevated. Recommend withdrawal. But the hunters didn't need a command. They already knew. They had come to hunt monsters. But Earth's true apex wasn't the razorback. It was the humans, and they didn't even know it. Or worse, they did. The Dravari hunters did not sleep the next night either, not because they were injured, not because they were hunted, but because they were afraid to close their eyes. From high in the trees, they watched. They had moved their camp 3 times, farther from the razorback, but no matter where they went, they kept seeing humans doing the impossible. Scout Sarek flew a silent drone over a rocky canyon, hoping to scan smaller prey. Instead, the drone caught a scene no one could explain. 2 hikers, young females, both human, stood at the cliff's edge. A winged serpent burst from the rocks, fangs wide. Sarek flinched, but instead of running, the girls cheered. "Woo! It's back!" One of them threw a raw fish into the air. The serpent caught it mid-flight and made a sound like a chirp. Then, it bowed before flying away. Another scout, Drinuk, sent a crawler bot into a swamp. The thermal camera caught children swimming with long-jawed beasts, reptiles the Dravari called mire breakers, creatures that could crush bones with one bite. The children laughed as one let them ride on its back. Back at camp, Captain Gorn watched the footage, eyes dark. "This is not luck," he muttered. "This is normal for them." Yernak adjusted the scanner. More strange data from the northeast, large felines, 6 limbs, razor claws. Gorn sighed. "Let me guess, someone's using one as a pillow?" Yernak blinked. "Yes, a farmer." The footage didn't stop. A man feeding berries to a venomous bear lizard. A woman training a tusked beast to carry stone blocks for construction. A child singing lullabies to a snake with 4 fangs. Everywhere the hunters looked, there were predators, and, beside them, humans. Calm, unbothered, smiling. That night, the jungle seemed too quiet. Sarek sat apart from the others, staring at the glowing fireflies. "I joined the League to face monsters," he whispered. "Not to be outmatched by children." Drinuk added, "My brother hunted sandworms on 3 moons. He bragged about killing something half this size." Yernak snorted. "Leary Holt from Sector 4 once trapped a venom hound with her teeth." Captain Gorn stood and said nothing, because even he, hunter of kings, slayer of dragons, had never seen anything like this. Not once. Not in his entire career. Just before dawn, the camp alert buzzed, another signal, close. Big Gorn drew his blaster. But when they checked the drone feed, it was Jake again. He stood on a cliff with another predator, sleek, black with glowing green eyes and claws that sliced bark like butter. Jake pointed toward the forest. "Go!" he shouted. The creature darted forward and tackled a charging, boar-like beast to the ground. It pinned it, bit its neck, then looked back at Jake. "Good boy." Jake laughed. "Now let it go." The creature did. The boar ran off. The predator walked back and nuzzled Jake's hand. Sarek stepped back from the monitor. "He commands that?" "No," Gorn said. "He teaches it." Later that morning, Gorn recorded another entry for Galactic. Command. Species, human. Known traits. Emotionally complex, physically adaptable, highly social. New observation. Ability to coexist with multiple alpha-class predators. Taming impossible by standard science. Relationship appears emotional, not mechanical. Conclusion. Humans are not masters of their planet's predators. They are accepted as equals, or worse, as pack leaders. Recommend further contact only with extreme caution. Meanwhile, at the edge of the forest, Jake sat beneath a tree with the razorback beside him, napping peacefully. He looked up toward the ridge where he knew something was watching. He smiled. "Still up there?" he said aloud. "Don't worry, we won't bite." The razorback snorted in its sleep. Jake chuckled. "Well, he might, but only if you run." Then he closed his eyes and dozed off, completely unarmed, in the open. The hunters had seen enough. Gorn turned to his squad. "We leave in 24 hours. Yernak frowned. "But the League." The League didn't come here, Gorn snapped. We did. And we saw the truth. He pointed toward the forest. Those people live with monsters, laugh with them, sleep beside them, train them. He paused. And if humans are that calm with danger, what must they be capable of when they're angry? No one had an answer. Just silence, and the sound of distant laughter carried by the wind. The jungle was quiet. Too quiet for a Death World captain. Gorn didn't like it. He crouched beside a log, covered in camouflage netting, his eyes locked on the scene below. The alien hunters had followed the human named Jake for 2 more days, still in disbelief, still hungry for answers. What they found tonight was something unexpected. A fire. A story. A smile. Jake sat by a campfire near the edge of a stream. The Razorback Alpha lay beside him like a lazy guard dog. The beast's chest rose and fell with slow, deep breaths. A smaller human, a teenage girl, sat across the fire, toasting something on a stick. The hunters watched from the trees, their sensors muted, weapons off. Jake cleared his throat and grinned. All right, you asked for it. The bear story. The girl smiled. Again? I love that one. Gorn leaned forward slightly. Bear? Jake stretched his legs and began. So this was back in Alaska. Deep woods. Cold as ice and quiet enough to hear your thoughts echo. One morning I hear, my generator goes silent, no buzz. I step out of my cabin and there it is. He held up one finger. A full-grown grizzly bear, right next to my fuel tank. The girl gasped. What did you do? Jake smirked. I said, excuse me, that's mine. The hunters stared, confused. Sarek whispered, that's not a tactical response. Jake continued. The bear looked at me. I looked at the bear. We both knew this wasn't about food, this was about respect. He stood up dramatically, still grinning. So I raised my arms real slow and said, I'm gonna count to 3. You better be gone by then. 1, 2, Gorn whispered. What happened at 3? Jake grinned wider. I never made it to 3. The bear charged. The girl gasped. The Razorback let out a low rumble, almost like it was listening too. Jake held out his arms. I didn't run, didn't scream. I stepped forward and punched that bear in the nose. The girl burst out laughing. You're lying. Jake shook his head. Swear on Razor's belly. The beast snorted as if insulted. Captain Gorn stared in disbelief. He struck a charging apex predator? Yernak whispered. And lived to laugh about it? Jake threw a log on the fire. It stumbled back, shook its head, looked at me like I broke the rules. Then you know what it did? What? It left. Just walked off into the woods. Never saw it again. The girl blinked. You scared it? Jake nodded. It realized something. I wasn't prey. I wasn't a rival. I was another bear. The girl clapped, and the Razorback rolled over onto its back, exposing its belly like a giant puppy. Jake leaned back. That's how it is here, kid. You don't fight Earth's monsters with rage. You fight them with confidence. He looked at the fire, eyes glowing orange in the flame. Most creatures understand strength, but only Earth creatures understand crazy. In the trees, none of the hunters moved. Gorn's mind raced. He struck a bear, stared down a Razorback, and he teaches children that insanity is a survival tactic. Sarek murmured, I think. They're not afraid because they are the predators. The monsters just haven't figured it out yet. Suddenly, the Razorback's ears twitched. Its eyes opened. It sniffed the air and looked directly at the hidden alien squad. Everyone froze. No one moved. No one breathed. The Razorback stood up slowly. Jake looked up, alert but not scared. You smell something, buddy? The creature growled low. Jake stood too. Then, he smiled. Maybe our watchers are still out there. That's all right. He looked straight into the trees. If you're still following us, just remember, he plays nice because he wants to. He patted the Razorback's side. I'm the one who taught him to want to. In the trees, the hunters began to sweat, alien sweat. Fear sweat, because the message was clear. The monster was dangerous, but the human was worse. Back at the ship later that night, Gorn updated his report again. Subject Jake appears physically average but exhibits extreme behavioral dominance over Class 9 predators. Mental state: stable, humorous, unpredictable. Danger level: unmeasurable. Do not engage, do not approach, do not attempt capture. Recommendation: immediate exit from Earth. Full reassessment of human threat level required. In the jungle, Jake sat back down. The razorback curled up beside him. He smiled at the girl. "All right, your turn. Tell me the one about the hawk that tried to eat your cat." She giggled. "Only if you make me Coco." Jake stood. "Deal." And in the darkness, just beyond the firelight, the monsters of Earth listened to the humans and felt safe. The hunters of space listened to the humans and felt fear. The alien camp was silent, not peaceful, not calm, just numb. Captain Gorn Vels stood in front of the hollow table, staring at the flickering data logs. The other hunters sat nearby, none speaking, their eyes hollow. For the first time in the squad's long hunting history, no one bragged, no one joked, no one cleaned their weapons, because something was broken, and it wasn't just the mission. Hunter Sarek hadn't spoken for hours. He sat on a rock at the edge of the camp, helmet off, hands shaking. His dark eyes blinked too often. His claws picked at the dirt. Yernak approached slowly. "You okay?" Sarek didn't look up. "They smile," he said quietly. "What?" "They smile while monsters sleep beside them. They ride beasts that kill. They swim with death. They throw sticks at walking jaws on Yernak's side. We've all seen it." "No," Sarek whispered. "You saw it. I felt it." He turned his eyes toward Yernak, wide, filled with fear. "I looked into that razorback's eyes when it saw us in the trees. It knew we were there." Yernak nodded slowly. "It didn't attack." Sarek shook his head. "It didn't attack, because it didn't care, not about us, not about what we are, not about our weapons." He took a deep breath, and Jake, he just smiled like he let it decide who lives. Back in the tent, Captain Gorn listened to the camp feed. He heard every word. His hands clenched into fists. Later that night, it got worse. Sarek woke up screaming. The camp lights flared. All weapons activated. Sarek had drawn his blade and was slashing at the air, shouting, "It's behind me, I heard it breathing." Gorn grabbed him by the shoulders. "You're dreaming." "It's not a dream," Sarek screamed. "They don't dream. They walk beside death like it's a dog. We came here to hunt monsters, but the humans? They're something else." They sedated him, forced him to rest, but no one else slept. They all lay awake, thinking about Jake, about Razor, about the girl laughing at the fire. The next day, the silence continued. Even the jungle seemed to sense the mood. The creatures chirped and howled in the distance, but nothing came close, not even the predators. Maybe even they were scared of the same thing. Yernak walked up to Gorn. "Requesting permission to leave early, sir." Gorn turned. "We leave in 12 hours. I mean now." Gorn stared at him. Yernak looked away. "I saw a child petting a venom stalker," he said softly. "It wrapped around her arm. Could have killed her in one bite. She kissed it on the head." He paused. "It kissed her back." Gorn didn't respond, not with words, just a slow nod. Yernak packed his gear in silence. That evening, Gorn sat alone at the ridge. He looked out across the jungle. Fires flickered in the human camp far away. They were cooking something. Laughing. Again. It wasn't madness. That was the worst part. It was normal for them. A message came through the holocom from High Command. "Status report overdue. Do you require extraction?" Gorn stared at the message, then replied, "Mission compromised. Targets not hostile, but not understandable. The planet is alive, but the humans are worse than the wild. They command monsters without fear. Smile at beasts that should eat them. Walk barefoot across the bones of apex killers. They are not prey, they are not predators, they are something else. Requesting full withdrawal. He sent the message, then sat in silence. Behind him, Sarek muttered in his sleep again. They smiled while it growled. They smiled. As the night fell again, the last thing Captain Gorn heard was the distant howl of another Earth predator. And closer still, a faint human voice. Razor, drop it. I said drop the leg bone. Ugh, not on my boots, you maniac. Laughter followed. Then silence. Captain Gorn stood, looked up at the stars and whispered, I've hunted on 50 worlds. I've killed creatures with teeth longer than my arms. But I have never once seen a species that enjoys living beside death. He looked toward Earth. Until now. The hunters were ready to leave. They had seen enough. Captain Gornvels ordered the crew to pack everything. Stealth tech, traps, samples, even the drones. No trophies, no glory. Just escape. Even now, the trees seemed to whisper, as if Earth itself was watching. Their ship sat hidden in a jungle clearing cloaked under camo nets and vines. It looked like part of the forest now, silent, still, almost forgotten. But when the crew arrived, something was wrong. The lights were off. The ramp wouldn't lower. The ship was dead. Systems offline, said Yernak, tapping the manual control pad. No power. Cores cold. Gorn cursed. What happened? Battery core drained. And chewed. Chewed? Yernak nodded grimly. Teeth marks. Big ones. Gorn's head sank into his hands. This planet is cursed. Sarek laughed. But it wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind you hear before someone breaks completely. We can't leave, he whispered. We're going to die here, surrounded by beasts, watching us sleep. Yernak looked at Gorn. We need help. From the humans. Everyone froze. No one wanted to say it out loud. No one wanted to ask humans for help. But the jungle didn't care what they wanted, and Earth was not patient. Gorn sighed. Fine. Find the one called Jake. If anyone knows how to survive here, it's him. Hours later, the hunters stood in an awkward line at the edge of a small field. In the middle sat Jake, shirtless again, wearing sunglasses, sipping something cold from a cup with a bendy straw. He waved. Hey, you guys lost, or... Just shy? Yernak cleared his throat. Our ship was damaged. Jake nodded. Yup, saw that. Your power line was dragging through the swamp. One of the bite bugs chewed right through it. You saw this? Gorn asked. Jake grinned. Yeah, thought you'd fix it yourself. Didn't want to interrupt your alien ninja mission. Yernak looked confused. Can you assist? Jake stood and stretched. Sure, I brought you a new power cell. He turned and pointed to a large cart beside him, holding a glowing blue cube humming with energy. That's from my old generator. Still kicks. Gorn blinked. You're giving us your power? Jake shrugged. Well, you did spend 3 days hiding in the trees, watching me like weird squirrels. Seemed like a fair trade. Sarek muttered. Why help us? Jake looked at him. Calm. Easy. Because you look like you need it. The crew loaded the cell. Jake walked with them, whistling a tune. At the ship, he helped connect the unit. Even wiped some of the alien panels clean with his shirt. This part's backwards, he said, pointing at a junction. Swamp gas messes with it. Flip it and you're good. They followed his advice. The lights flickered on. Power surged. The ship came back to life. Gorn stared at Jake. You could have left us. Jake smiled. I almost did, but then Razor whined at the door. Guess he likes you guys. Sarek stepped forward, voice shaking. You command monsters, and you fix ships, and you laugh with death. Jake raised an eyebrow. You say that like it's a bad thing. Sarek looked away. Gorn stepped forward. Why aren't you afraid of us? Jake looked him straight in the eye. Because you came to hunt something dangerous. He leaned in, grinning slightly. And it turned out you're not it. The crew went silent. Jake clapped his hands. Well, power's back, ship's working, time to get out of our jungle before the night beasts get curious. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, one last thing. He tossed Gorn a sealed metal container. Jerky. Real spicy. From the bear I punched. He winked. Don't tell your space council. They might cry. And with that he vanished into the trees. The hunters stood in stunned silence. Sarek whispered, That was kindness. Yernak nodded. Worse than violence. Gorn held the jerky container like it was a bomb. We came to hunt beasts, he said softly. And a human fixed our ship, smiled, and handed us a snack made from a monster. He looked up at Earth's sky. This planet doesn't grow warriors. It grows legends. Back on the ship, Gorn updated his final log. Mission status aborted. Reason: native species displays illogical calm and control over local alpha threats. Subject Jake displayed mechanical knowledge, survival mastery, social awareness, and compassion. That last one is the most dangerous. As the ship lifted off, Earth faded behind them, green, loud, and peaceful, on the surface. But in the hearts of the hunters, one thought stayed. Humans don't fear monsters. Monsters obey humans. Far away from Earth, across stars and silence, the Galactic Council gathered. The chamber was massive, cold. Silver walls lined with glowing panels. Creatures from over 100 species sat in quiet rows. The air was tense. A screen floated in the center, showing one word: Earth. Councillor Vrashatol of the Ikar Dominion adjusted his breathing tubes. We were promised a trophy hunt, he said coldly. What we received was a psychological collapse. Another councillor grunted. The Dravari don't scare easily. No, said Vrashatol. But they fled fast. He tapped a control pad. The screen lit up. Footage played. A human child laughing while petting a predator. Jake throwing a stick to a razorback. A swarm of mire beasts circling a human woman, only to sit down like trained hounds. The alien hunter Sarek, muttering in a corner, rocking back and forth. Captain Gorn's report. Do not engage. Do not study. Do not return. They are not dominant. They are not survivors. They are something new. Whispers filled the room. They laugh at fear. They command with affection. They fix ships, then hand out snacks made from monsters. Councillor Shirak Vel, a cybernetic diplomat from the Valari MindNet, spoke with blinking lights. The human known as Jake was unarmed, unarmored, surrounded by apex threats. Yet he walked calmly, as if born to lead them. Another voice added, the monsters listened to him. A pause. No. The monsters respected him. The room fell silent. Then a voice came from the shadows. Elder Maltor, oldest member of the council, leaned forward. He had lived through 3 galaxy wars. He had watched sons die. His voice was dry as bone. Long ago, he said, we feared humans for their fire, their war, their machines. He looked at the Razorback footage. We were wrong. The screen changed, now showing Jake smiling, Razor sleeping, children laughing with beasts. They are not dangerous because of war. He pointed a clawed finger at Jake's face on the screen. They are dangerous because they made death love them. Councillor Vrashatol stood. I moved to seal Earth. Forever, someone added. No more landings, said another. No research, came a third voice. No visits. A vote was called. Glowing orbs appeared before each councillor. Red, abandon Earth. Blue, reevaluate later. Green, continue. Operations one by one, the orbs turned red. Dozens, hundreds, unanimous. The Speaker of the Council rose. Let it be known, she said firmly, that Earth is now a black zone. No hunter shall land, no probe shall scan, no mission shall return. She looked across the room. Because we no longer fear the monsters. She turned back to the screen. We fear the humans who walk among them. Meanwhile on Earth, Jake was fishing. He sat at the riverbank, Razor snoring beside him. The water rippled. The wind blew gently. Jake leaned back and yawned. "No aliens today, huh?" he muttered. He smiled and tossed a pebble into the water. "Shame. I was gonna offer." "Soup?" Razor snorted. Jake patted his head. "They're lost, buddy." Back in orbit, all satellites belonging to the Galactic Council blinked red. Disconnected, shut down, offline. Earth was now dark to the galaxy. Unseen, untouched. Feared. And across the stars, children whispered stories of the humans, how they smiled. At monsters, tamed beasts with jokes, and lived beside death like it was a friend. They called them many things. Deathwalkers, beast whisperers, the unafraid. But in every tongue, every system, one word echoed: do not go to Earth.